Hello and welcome to another episode of the Feed the Soul podcast, the last episode of the season. Whoa, we're here.
You're listening to the Feed the Soul podcast. We're talking about tackling tough stuff, chasing dreams, and figuring out who we really are. Each episode ends with a word of advice or encouragement. A nugget of inspiration to empower you to dream big and take that leap of faith into the wild adventure of life.
I started this podcast in February 29th, 2024 was the first episode. And I picked February 29th because I thought it was a fun date. Like, why not start a podcast or release the first episode on Leap Day? It's significant to a lot of people who were born on Leap Day, but it's a day that comes, every so often, right? And so it's just like a really fun day to release that. And I am now releasing the final episode of the season on December 24th, 2024. 12/24/24. Also, a really significant number if you're into angel numbers, but also, it's my birthday. So if you're listening it today on the day it was released, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, or comment on this video that, it's my birthday today. And I thought I'd end this season with a final episode. I wanted to really have this episode. It's titled Serving Abundance. Abundance was my word of the year. This year. I have a word of the year every year. At one point, just over these last 5 years, like since COVID, I don't think it was in 2020, but it was try again was a word of the year. I had forgive was a word of the year. I have all of them written down in one of my many binders or notebooks somewhere that I journal in. But my word of the year was abundance. I got a message from someone back at the beginning of the year, January 4th. I'm going to read it to you. I had messaged her on Instagram, DM'd her about an opportunity that appeared at another yoga studio to be the manager of this yoga studio. And I had already been teaching at a yoga studio. I've been teaching at a gym, and I just was like, I don't want to add another one and then compete to draw people to that studio. So I turned that down. But throughout this conversation, again, January 4th, she says, sounds like this will be a year of abundance for you, no matter what you decide to pursue. And I really received that. I was like, yes, thank you, 100%. And but honestly, at that time, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know which route to go. I had a really weird schedule at my full-time job. I was teaching a lot of yoga, was feeling a little burnt out, but also trying to figure out what's my direction. I think that was actually my word of the year last year was direction. Or maybe it's next year. I think I already picked out a word for next year. Oh, it is. Next year's word of the year is direction. Anyway, so through the rest of the conversation, she says again, it looks like you are thriving and doing a lot of cool things. You'll figure it out. You are intelligent and resilient and brave and open. I feel like this is your year for abundance. And I really received that. I really ran with that and made this year about abundance. And January came about, I had already been thinking about the podcast. And so when I thought about abundance, I thought about it in material things. An abundance of money, an abundance of stuff or things. But what I didn't realize is that abundance was going to show up in so many different ways for me this year. I challenged myself to journal at the end of each month. And at the end of each month, I reflected on that month and try to find what I had an abundance of. An abundance of joy, an abundance of support, specifically through this podcast, and abundance of forgiveness still showed up for me this year. An abundance of opportunities in teaching through Lululemon and getting out in the community. An abundance of self-love. After a breakup, how do I love myself through that decision, through that choice, and through these moments of now of being with myself? An abundance of being with myself. Hello. It's just has shown up so much, that word. And when you reflect on something, I had an episode serving gratitude, right? Sometimes life can be so tough. Life can feel like there's nothing good happening. But when we take time to sit down and say, what good happened today? Or what am I grateful for today? Things will appear. Believe me, things will appear for you when you take some time to think, when you take some time to just pause and reflect on it. I promise you, it's out there. In this episode specifically, I just wanted to walk through my vision board that I have here. Every year I do a vision board, and I mentioned this in one of the episodes as well, is the importance of vision boards, how they can really come to life in your life, how you can start to make your life move in the direction that you want it to be. And part of that is through a vision board. Vision boards can be done in multiple different ways. Every January, I would do it when I worked at the university, I do it with my staff going into that second semester. What do you want your second semester to look like? But then when we look past that, what do you want the rest of this calendar year to look like? And maybe you're even looking at what you want the next 5 years to look like, or after graduation, and starting to put that out there. And as Oprah would say, manifest that. And now, manifest was a big word for a while. How can we manifest that, or draw that in, or put that out into the universe to have that come back around to you, or to God, or to whoever that is for you? How do we put that out there to receive it back? Vision boards also give us direction. When we're feeling kind of stuck, or we're not sure which direction to go, when we're feeling like we're in a slump, we can bring our attention and awareness back to our vision board and go, yes, that is where I was going. Yes, that is the direction. That is what I desired at the beginning of this year for my life. My vision board has come to pass, or has come to play so much for me this year. How I do my vision boards, I have a bunch of magazines donated to me over time, because I would also host a vision board party with friends, snacks, and we just are having this space to show ourselves love, to have this space of peace, and to manifest again what we want for our future. I usually have always done cutouts and then added on through, whether that's markers or colored pencils, or you print something out from the internet. You can make your vision board however you desire. You can look online, just Googling vision boards, and you'll have a plethora of examples for you. I always encourage people, though, to research what is a vision board and the purpose and why it came about, and how we can use that as in our best interest. So again, in this episode, I just wanted to wrap up this season and really this year with reflecting on my vision board and what has come about for me. When I started doing this specific one and cutting things out, I didn't have a goal. I didn't know where I was going with my vision board this year. I just cut out things that kind of spoke to me, that looked interesting, that, I don't know, made my heart skip a beat, if you will. So after I cut out, I guess this is my process. After I cut out pieces, I start to think about, I just laid it out. What do these pieces have in common? How do they resonate with me and with my life, or maybe what I've gone through, or what I do desire for myself? And through that came this. But I will say it just came to me. There was a song that came on called Purpose by Ioni. I want to say Ayoni. Ayoni. Purpose. And the lyrics talk about, I hope you find your purpose. Now, I really think that she was going through a breakup in this song, but it's unfortunate how we come so far just for me to feel like something on the inside is gone. Why are we forcing it? Just to fall in deeper because we're scared to leave and move on. I felt it when I held your hand. Stars didn't align for me. And we can't pretend that our simple plan considered our destiny. Fast forward. Hope you find your purpose. No, you don't deserve this. Hope you find a better one. Find a love more certain. Hope you find your purpose. Something about I hope you find your purpose, and no, KNOW, you don't deserve this. Again, at that time, I was working a time frame. I was working second shift, basically like 2 to 10 shift, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And my days off were Tuesday, Wednesday. And I was like, this isn't for me. This time isn't for me. Working every weekend isn't for me. I love to travel. I love to be with friends. I love to be doing things on the weekend. Like, that's just how we were set up, right? Monday through Friday, we're working. Now, I have always also worked in service. And so working weekends isn't foreign to me. Working evenings isn't foreign to me. But every weekend, that was tough. And I just knew that there was more for me than working this shift and what I was doing. So that really spoke to me. I was crying, and this showed up for me at that time. So we get to walk through it together, what my vision board looks like, what my goal was for this year, and really for this podcast. It starts off, which ironically, having this episode come out on December 24th, my birthday, and having my vision board start off on my birthday was not intentional, but it's in flow. There's an episode, Serving Flow, trying to live this life, this year in flow and not forcing. Every guest, every episode, every title came about in flow. It just was like intuitive, and it happened so naturally, and it resonated with what I was going through in my life and what some of the guests were going through in their life as well. And then to get messages from people after an episode was released about how it resonated with them was really powerful. So I started off, it goes into this arc, this umbrella, this rainbow surrounded by abundance. Again, the word of the year. So born day, December 24th. Happiness training pumps you up. I had a good life. Life was so good. Everything's good. So there's this smiling face here. Ha ha ha, everything's good. That was my life. I laughed at everything, found the silver lining in everything. Life was good. Come my junior year, and I talk about this in the first episode of Failure, I think. But I talk about failing out of college. Yeah, so the first episode, Serving Failure. When depression sets you back, keep moving forward. That was the motto. Junior year, going through this slump, depressed. Just keep going. Things will be fine. It'll work out. Started to go through therapy and counseling and learn that change starts with me. I had a vision board last year that one set, so it was a very different vision board last year, but in one corner was all things blackness. And one of the things I wanted to work on last year was breaking the chain, breaking what happens in my life because I am Black, or what happened through my family's life because of whatever, breaking that. It doesn't have to continue with me. And so change starts with you kind of speaks to that as well. Like, I have to continue to focus on changing myself. This diagram here, it says focus on what matters. This piece, there's so much. There's all of these rainbows. And on this one, it takes out some of those rainbows and those pieces and focuses on just specific ones. And I don't know if you can see that. The birthday, good life, how there's so much going on here that we then focus on what matters. The arc of what am I calling this? The rainbow. It's faded out, but it says self-love knows no bounds. No bounds was cut out. But I wrote in self-love knows no bounds. KNOWSNO bounds. It starts with you. It starts with self-love, and know that you can't love yourself more than, like, there's no, the limit does not exist for self-love. Endless love. Self-love is endless love. After going through depression, after working on myself and focusing on what matters, is remembering that self-love is endless love. No matter where it comes from, and if you get it from other people, we need to give it to ourselves. We continue at this. Works hard. I put a heart around this quote. The heart works hard to protect your hard work. I've done a lot of work on accepting my queerness. So that was the month of October, serving authenticity with Ronnie to serving proud. I have a rainbow here, rainbow colors, I should say, flag, the rainbow flag colors, to just, come face to face with who I am, come face to face with being in the LGBTQ community, being face to face with my Blackness, and just remembering, again, with this depression and again with counseling, that the heart works hard to protect the hard work that we've done, to then protect to protect the heart. Don't forget that change is possible, which leads me to then All Things Podcast. Feed the Soul is food for the soul. Last year, the Sherman, there's this award that is local in Milwaukee, the best of Milwaukee, best arts, best restaurant, best brewery, best yoga studio, best training studio, best gym. You can submit to nominate a group in that category, and then through that, there's like a top 5 that you can be voted on. Last year, there's a Best of Milwaukee local podcast. And Marlena, who was on Serving Discipline, the very first episode, she was nominated. Her podcast was nominated for that. And she was in the top 5, 2 familiar podcasts. And I was like, dope. Yes, that is a goal I would make for the podcast. It's really important to have goals in general so that you have drive, so that you know where you're going. Because for me, I could stop, right? The podcast is here. A lot of people stop. just randomly. They just drop. I didn't want that to be me, and I wanted to give myself something to strive for, and that happened to be the Best of Milwaukee local podcast. I also know that towards the end of the year, there's burnout. And there's a lot of work that goes into this, y'all. I don't have a team. I'm recording, I'm contacting guests, I'm contacting businesses. Everywhere that we recorded has been planned out and thought out and did that, and setting up and recording and editing and putting it out there has been on me. I've had help with coming up with the logo. Thank you, folks. But I needed to remind myself to finish strong. Finish not only this podcast, finish that strong, but to finish the year strong. The last quote on here says, "Just living is not enough. One must have sunshine, freedom, and a little flower." That is from Hans Christian Andersen from The Butterfly. That really spoke to me. Just living is not enough. We must have sunshine, freedom, and a little flower. For my birthday, my mom said to me this year, I think it's time, or this year, do something different. That might be a new tradition. I'm spending my birthday and Christmas in Hawaii this year with my friend Emily, who lives out there. I am trying to have a little more sunshine in this winter, giving myself the freedom to travel and being so gracious, thankful, and having an abundance amount of gratitude for the privilege that I have to travel. And a little flower. No, that might be weed, but there's a lot of flowers in Hawaii. Wow. Oh my gosh. Y'all, I literally just planned this trip to Hawaii like last month. One must have sunshine, freedom, and a little flower. If that is not ending my birthday, y'all, see, this is what I'm talking about. Living in flow. It comes back around my birthday in Hawaii So that's the episode. I don't know what else to say. Thank you so much for listening to moving into dessert. I am so grateful for the messages that I got from people. I am so grateful that, and I've learned over the season of this podcast that as much as I thought it was for other people, it was really for me. A lot of those individual episodes that I did, those solo episodes, was like me being very vulnerable and basically reading from my journal. Some people would ask me, like, what's your podcast about? And I tell them the title, I tell them some of the episodes that I have, and I'm like, I'm just reading parts of my journal to you. Serving failure, I don't like telling people that I failed out of college is something that I hid for a long time. And to learn from that experience and to know that it's okay to share pieces of you because others might need that. But Feed the Soul podcast was really something it just felt right. It just felt so right. And so to have feedback from y'all of how episodes touched you, how it resonated with you, what you got from that, how it just is fitting in with your story right now, I'm honestly speechless. I didn't record this episode for the longest time because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to end this. Because if I'm honest, I don't know if there's another season or when there will be another season. I should say that. I really do think that this is not it. I have a line of people ready to be guests on the podcast. That warms my heart. But again, knowing that I'm doing all of this, how much time it takes, I can't say that 2025 will have another season at this time. There's a lot of growing for me yet to do. And I know that I don't think I'll have solo episodes. Talking to the camera, basically talking to myself, is interesting. It's really interesting, but I love talking with people, asking them questions, getting them to share about themselves, and just know like there's more to get out of this podcast than just me. So with that said, the final sip is know that life is out there. Life is out there for you to explore. Life is out there for you to try, to learn from, and to reach back. Help someone else move forward as well. Life doesn't move in this upward motion all the time. There's waves, there's dips, there's peaks, there's valleys. And part of Feed the Soul was to help you understand, like, even with our local celebrities here, we're all trying to make life work. We're all trying to make life even a little better for our neighbor, for the next person, for the next generation. Remember, to the world, you may be one person. And this podcast has let me know, like, to one person, this podcast is the world. And one episode might be the world. I am very, very grateful for this opportunity, for y'all following along. Please go back if you haven't listened. Know that there's been growth since that first episode, baby. Just learning to be comfortable in front of the camera and learning to be comfortable interviewing people. It's been so much growth, and hopefully you see that throughout the episodes, or if there's a title that stands out to you, or a bio or a description that stands out to you in that season of life for you, please take a listen. And don't forget, feel free to continue commenting, messaging me, give me feedback. I'm open to it all. I'll catch you in the next episode of the Feed the Soul podcast. Happy New Year. Much love. Much love. Go in peace. And yeah.